Well, hello folks out there in YouTube land. Got a big show lined up for you. Let's get right on into it. All right, folks, John Mateer has responded to the allegations that he gambled when he was a freshman at Washington State. Also, we got to talk about Boo. Boo may be getting suspended for the Syracuse game. We don't know. We're going to talk all about that too. But let's get into John Mateer first, because I never bury the lead. Now, John has responded to the gambling allegations that were dug up from his Venmo account from 3 years ago, that he had supposedly bet on a game which was USC-UCLA, which was right here. It said paid Richard Roten, sports gambling, UCLA versus USC, and then another one where he paid him for sports gambling, etc. Now, John has said that was an inside joke and that's just kind of sense of humor that he had, you know, just kind of being blatant like, hey, I'm going to put it on Venmo that I gamble. Now, a lot of people don't realize that that's actually public when you pay with Venmo, unless you make your account private, which I had no idea. I don't use Venmo, but that does seem, you would think it'd be the opposite.
Once again, things that could have been brought to my attention yesterday!
But anyway, for any athletes out there that like to put inside jokes on the description of the payment, and a lot of people do weird stuff with those descriptions, you might ought to make it private right away. Otherwise, you're going to be dealing with this, because some Texas dude spent, I don't know how much time going through 3 years of history of John Mateer to get into finding these comments, which we'll talk about the Texas-Oklahoma thing here in a minute. But John Mateer, here's his response and statement about these allegations. The allegations that I once participated in sports gambling are false. My previous Venmo descriptions did not accurately portray the transactions in question, but were instead inside jokes between me and my friends. I've never bet on sports. I understand the seriousness of the matter, but recognize that, taken out of context, those Venmo descriptions suggest otherwise. I can assure my teammates, coaches, and officials at the NCAA that I've not engaged in any sports gambling. Now, needless to say, the Texas folks have had a lot of fun with this scandal, and so have other fan bases. Here's one that a guy put showing John Mateer, says, watching Stanford at Hawaii last weekend.
Open up your recall.
Then, of course, there's a lot of photos going like this saying this is Mateer. So people are having fun with it. Now, a lot of you folks may not be aware of this because Texas and Oklahoma just joined the SEC, but they've had a rivalry for a long time. They call it the Red River Dawson's Creek rivalry thing. Anyway, it's a big deal, and they do not like each other. And so there's been a lot of comments accusing Texas. Like this guy said, John Mateer did no wrong. It's just Texas fans starting shit for no reason because they are all delusional and I can't stand their asses.
Well, that's a very offensive way to put it.
Yeah, there's not a lot of love lost there between those two fan bases. And the weird thing about it, I could totally see this being a joke between friends. And I have a tendency to believe Mateer on this. But it is weird that he got so specific, USC versus UCLA. That's the one that kind of throws me off a little bit. Man, you got awful specific with that joke. But I'm leaning towards believing him. But you still have to take a look at it because it would be, look, he could be suspended up to 6 games over this, is the way they've got it set up. If you gamble on sports, they hit you hard. Now, here's a guy that also believes him, and this is a big deal for Oklahoma. This is Shannon Terry. And if you don't know who he is, he runs On 3. I think he's the CEO, actually. And he says, I believe him, let's move on. Now, while that may not seem like a big deal, when you run and operate On 3, that is a monster news organization when it comes to sports. It's one of my go-tos, and they got Andy Staples and guys like him that, and I think they even hired Ross Dellinger. So they've got a lot of big dogs there, and if Shannon Terry says, I believe him, let's move on, that's probably going to feed through the organization a little bit. It kind of has to. So this is being investigated by Oklahoma. We'll see how it plays out. I don't know if they're going to be able to prove it or not. I don't know how you would prove it. You'd probably have to have the guy that he paid, the $60, come out and say, yeah, he paid me over a game we gambled on. And I don't see him doing that unless he's a Texas fan. And I will say this, the Texas folks have had a good time with this. I mean, they have enjoyed it thoroughly. Yeah, absolutely they have. I didn't realize it was that bad between those two teams. Typically, you would think it's usually in-state when it gets real harsh like that, but they've already got it with Texas and Texas A&M. I guess the Oklahoma thing's just as bad. And we'll learn about that over the years because now that they've joined the SEC, they'll be a big part of the whole SEC rivalries and all that kind of stuff. The Alabama versus Auburn and Tennessee versus Florida. There's a bunch of them. All right, so now you've seen the response from John Mateer. Oklahoma is investigating it. I don't know if the NCAA is going to get involved or not. If I'm Mateer, I wouldn't tell them crap. You cannot tell the NCAA much of anything because then it becomes a whole thing. I would just put the statement out and be done with it and say, good luck to you. Anyway, now we got to talk about Boo Carter, a follow-up on what happened yesterday. Obviously, there's been some problems, even with him coming back. We thought it was all settled. He was back at practice. You know, he was doing the things necessary to get back in the good graces of the team and the coaches. Turns out that may not be the case. His mother came out with a bunch of comments on social media, just kind of blew up, honestly. And I showed them to you yesterday. I'm not going to rehash them. But I was listening to Tony Basilio, and he has been somebody that's been on top of this story in a major way. And he actually was on top of it when it first started, when we had the first whole Boo explosion. And it turns out he's been, according to Tony, showing up late. That's what he heard anyway. Showing up late to practice.
Again.
Now, it was late to meetings or not showing up for meetings. Now it's just not showing up to practice on time. And dude's already on probation of some sort. So I'm not sure exactly what HEUPEL can do.
Oh. Then as of this moment, they're on double secret probation.
Yeah, he may have to put him under double secret probation. But my understanding is he may very well have been suspended, or they're thinking about suspending him for the Syracuse game, which is really the only way you can truly get somebody's attention sometimes, short of throwing them off the team, is to say you won't be playing in this game. Because when you take away, there's not that many games. And that's where all the fun and hype and the excitement is. And you miss out on that. And missing out on a big game like Syracuse, Tennessee, opening game is huge. And that would hurt. And I don't know if Boo can take it or not. I really don't. I don't know his personality. Obviously, he's probably a little bit thin-skinned. I would assume that. Otherwise, you wouldn't be having all these problems. We'll see. But if you're going to be on probation or some sort of probation and then show up late, if that's accurate, you got to do something. What else can you do? You can't have somebody just thumb their nose at you. So it looks like the Boo saga is not ending and maybe right in the middle of it, for all we know. We will see how this plays out. Basilio's done a good job following this and kind of keeping everybody in Vol Nation knowing what's going on for the most part. I don't know how accurate it is, but Tony's been pretty accurate up to now, and I've been listening to him since the 90s. So we will see how this plays out. But I'm back to 50-50. That's where I'm at, to whether he plays this year or not. I just don't know. So I'm just going with that. I went from 90% sure he was gone down to 50-50 he was going to be on the team. Then I thought everything was fine. Now we're back to 50-50. It's a roller coaster. That's all the Boo roller coaster. Pretty good chance he winds up at Colorado next year anyway, regardless how this plays out. I would think so. I don't know how much bad blood there is between Boo and the coaches and the players. I just don't know. It doesn't sound good. Oh, and I do want to remind you, Friday night, I will be debating one Carolina Jackpot who challenged yours truly to this very debate about whether or not Connor Stalions sent signs and signals that he had stolen from Tennessee through forward scouting, recording, and all these level 1 violations. Sent that information to South Carolina.
Allegedly.
Which I believe that he did. It's my opinion.
You never had a chance to defeat me, fool! And you know why?
Because you cheated?
No, not because I cheated, because I'm an evil genius.
And, of course, the circumstantial evidence and all that. We're going to be talking about all these things. And, of course, Jackpot will have his opinion. And it's Friday night, 9 o'clock on Rec Talk. So be sure to check that out. And it should be fun. And I think the way the moderator's got this set up at Reg Talk, he's going to let you vote as to who wins or who loses the debate. So that should be fun and interactive for the viewers, and you might find it very entertaining. And if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Let's continue to cover all these big college sports stories. If you've not subscribed, boom, 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 hit that button right there. It won't cost you a dime, help you get my videos. And right over here is the most recent video that YouTube thinks you'll enjoy based on your viewing history. We'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.
Say when.